What is up, guys? Eric here from Real Film Reviews, bringing you another movie review, this time for the new Martin McDonagh film, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. 3 Billboards is written and directed by Martin McDonagh, who you might know from 7 Psychopaths and In Bruges. It stars Frances McDormand, Woody Harrelson, and Sam Rockwell. It tells the story of a mother played by Frances McDormand whose daughter was murdered in a rather vicious manner, and after no one is arrested for this crime, she decides to take it into her own hands to purchase 3 billboards, basically calling out the police department in her hometown of Ebbing, Missouri, for the fact that they have not done anything and have stopped basically looking into this case. Now, after doing that, everyone in the town has their own opinions, as it's a small town in the Midwest, and it begins to cause drama throughout the whole town, regardless of whether they are personally involved in the story or not. Now, I have to say, the best thing about this movie, and I think it's the thing most people will say is the best, is the script. The story for this movie is one, it feels rather original, and it's definitely entertaining, and it gives you something to look forward to as the story progresses because it's constantly moving forward. But the big thing is really just the general writing of these characters and of the comedy in this film. This movie is absolutely hilarious. Coming from someone who is from a small town in the Midwest, this movie absolutely perfectly captures the way people speak in small towns in the Midwest of the United States. They definitely have a rather crass way of speaking, and it definitely adds to the hilarity of this film, because if you're not from those places, you could view this and think, this is so funny, it's just a bunch of dumb hicks, but if you're from somewhere like that, you can attach to it even more because you're just like, this reminds me of people that I actually know. It captured the raw sensibilities of the people of the Midwest in these small towns, and I thought that that was amazing, because that's something that is very hard to capture in a film, where it still feels funny, but also realistic, and they're not just overdoing it to a crazy extent. And I think that this movie did that perfectly, and I'm not going to be surprised at all if this movie takes home an Oscar for Best Writing, because so far this year, this and Lady Bird are the 2 best written films I've seen. And even though this movie is very funny, the script is a very dark and serious story of a mother losing her child and wanting to find the person that committed this crime. And this movie very perfectly meshed those 2 things to make a great dark comedy. While this movie definitely has those solemn, sad moments, it very quickly cuts through those with some lighthearted comedy that doesn't feel stupid. It doesn't feel out of place. It definitely matches with the characters that are involved in this film and the story that's being told. McDonagh also does a very good job with the direction. This movie isn't mind-blowingly good, however it does look rather beautiful, and it captures small-town America in a rather nice and almost nostalgic manner that I think it deserves to be captured in. And then along with that, I think besides the script, this movie's performances are the thing that are just absolutely amazing. While the script builds these very fun characters, and there's so many different ones, this movie is full of amazing performances by just supporting cast character actors, and I can't get into every single performance because there's too many, so I'm really just going to focus in on 2 of them, and one I'm leaving out is sort of upsetting. Woody Harrelson is amazing in this movie, and he was my favorite character in this film, but the 2 performances I have to bring up, number 1 is Sam Rockwell. He is amazing in this movie. Sam Rockwell is one of the most underrated actors in all of Hollywood. He rarely gets given the credit that he deserves, and he is phenomenal in this film as sort of this very genuine but just kind of dumb guy who's just trying to find his place in this small town as a cop. And I absolutely loved his character because every scene he was in, you just 100% understood where he was coming from when he did things. There was no like nuance to his character, and I really loved that because it was so fitting with him sort of being like the dunce on this police squad, yet he somehow still was like Woody Harrelson's like deputy almost. Like it was like Woody Harrelson and then he was like his number 2, even though he was kind of just like this idiot, but his character was so lovable while also being sort of a hero, and I just loved those 2 things being put together. And then the best performance in this film is Frances McDormand. She is amazing in this movie. She captures the comedy but also this solemn sadness that her character has to carry throughout all of these sequences, because everything she's doing in this film is to try and find the person that killed her daughter, that took something that was so important to her in her life away from her forever. And I just really love her performance because all of the emotional scenes that she has, she sells, and she is so good in them. But then even sort of like the sharp, quick wit that her character has is still there in those sequences. And even though she might be straight-faced, the audience is laughing because the jab that she just took at someone was so spot on, but she doesn't even react to the fact that what she said was so clever. Now, the only issue that I have with this film is a rather small one. It's mostly the pacing and sort of the character building in the film. So the pacing of this movie is rather quick. This movie clocks in at only 2 hours, and for the amount of characters and story that is involved in it, it moves rather fast. Now, sometimes that's a good thing in a film for it to have a quick pace that's constantly moving forward, but other times it can feel like you're leaving things out, and I think that that's how I felt with this film. While all the performances are great, there are certain characters, specifically Lucas Hedges, who plays Frances McDormand's character's son. He lost his sister the same way she lost a daughter, and he really only gets 1 or 2 scenes where he can showcase the way he feels about everything that's going on. And he's the only character to me that I truly felt was sort of just left out of this story and deserved a bigger role. While Lucas Hedges does a great job and everyone in this movie does a great job, there are just certain characters that play this important role in this story, or maybe with specific characters, that I think they deserved a little more screen time, a little more building, a little more story action, and it was just sort of disappointing to see them left out. And I understand Frances McDormand's character, Sam Rockwell, Woody Harrelson, those characters are like the focus of the story, but there are other characters that have a very strong attachment to this story that just don't really get the screen time or the moments that they deserve. And I think, really, especially with Lucas Hedges, the 2 moments that he does have in this film, I think if they would have just let them breathe a little bit and last a little longer, I wouldn't have had that issue. I'm gonna give 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri an A. This is a phenomenal movie that is simultaneously hilarious and heartbreaking, and I absolutely loved it. If you have this movie in theaters in your town, I highly recommend checking it out. It's so good, and it has such good performances and one of the best scripts I've seen all year. If you enjoy films by the Coen brothers, I think that's the easiest thing to compare it to, which is definitely a high praise type of comparison. So if you like Coen brothers films, if you like movies that have strong scripts and great performances, definitely check this movie out, because it will have you laughing, but also feeling very sad at the same time. Well guys, as always, I'm Eric. If you enjoyed this review, please do like, subscribe, comment down below what you thought of 3 Billboards, share everything we do here on Real Film Reviews, and hope to see you guys later.